Hello all my beautiful sisters from those other misters. Today I am doing a review and demo of these. These are Artis brush knockoffs that I picked up on eBay. Alright, let's talk about the cost of these brushes. I bought these off eBay. As I said, I got 10-piece set. It cost me 27 Australian dollars with free shipping. In the set I got 5 oval brushes, I got 2 round brushes, and I got 3 linear brushes, and they are all in varying sizes. Now, I am really super intrigued by Artis brushes. Well, I should say I was super intrigued by Artis brushes. They're unlike anything I've ever seen before or used up until now, although these aren't the real things, but we'll get into that a bit more later. They're very different. They're very, very expensive. Now, I am not anti-expensive brush whatsoever. I'm a firm believer that if you can find a brand that makes a high quality brush with a nice cut that works perfectly for you, it is totally worth spending the money, because a good makeup brush will last you a lifetime if you look after it really well. So totally not against spending a lot of money on makeup brushes. Now, when I sort of first discovered Artis, I did go on their website, I had a look around, I was like, maybe, I might buy some. A very basic 10-piece set, so none of their pretty like gold finish or special fucking la-di-da finish brushes. A 10-piece set was $355 US with $45 US shipping. So you were looking at $400 US for a set of 10 brushes. Now, if you convert that to Australian dollars, you're looking at about 530 Australian dollars for 10 brushes. That's 53 Australian dollars per brush. That is super, super expensive. And like I said, not against expensive brushes, but when you are faced with brushes that are shaped like this, something you've never used before, for me, that was a risk I was not willing to take. I wasn't really willing to buy the brushes at that price, use them, and then go, wow, I don't like it. I just don't like it. So when I saw that I could buy a set on eBay for literally a fraction of the price, I went for it. Alright, so as I go through this video, I am going to mention Artis a few times, mostly in reference to how the brushes are recommended to be used. Since my eBay set did not come with instructions, I went onto the Artis website and I looked at how they recommend using each individual blush for product placement and stuff like that. But I do want you guys to keep in mind that these aren't Artis brushes. They may perform completely differently. My opinion is only on the eBay brush set, the one that I paid $27 for, and they sent me 10 brushes. Here are the 10 brushes I received in my set. Since none of them are labeled or numbered or anything like that, for the sake of the video, I'm going to do it myself just to make it a little bit easier when I'm referencing them later in the video. So starting from left to right, we've got 5 oval brushes in extra large, large, medium, small, and extra small. Then we have 2 round brushes. The one on the left is the round domed brush, and the one on the right is a round flat brush. And then we have 3 linear brushes in large, medium, and small. Alright, let's get started with this demo. For my base, I'm using the large oval brush. I want to talk about my pet peeve with these brushes first. These cling to the skin like no other brush I have ever used. You'll see with the foundation brush that as I'm trying to blend it into the skin, it's pulling my skin around. Now, I'm not using a firm hand, I'm not being rough. The brushes just grab and pull at the skin. The Artis website recommends using circular buffing motions or sweeping motions to apply product with these oval shaped brushes. So that's what I went for when I was using these ones. I opted to use sweeping motions for the rest of the application, and I did find that I had a lot of brush strokes in the finish. They're fairly easy to get rid of them. You just tap them out, but it's kind of annoying. I would be very, very interested to see if a higher quality, more expensive brush of the same design would do a better job. All of the bristles on the oval brushes are really soft and extremely densely packed. They also pick up a lot of product, but they don't absorb a lot of product, which means what you pick up goes on your face. A less is more approach is really good with these brushes because once it's on there, it can be difficult to fix, but it's very easy to add extra if you need it. The handles on these particular brushes are a cheap, light feeling plastic, and they have quite a bit of bend to them. When I first got the brushes, I thought that would be great because it meant you wouldn't be putting too much pressure on your face when you were using them. But because they grip on the skin, it's kind of, I don't know, it feels like it's pointless. This is a round flat brush. I'll be using this for some eyeshadow application. Here I'm going to demo what these round brushes are not good for, and that is eyeshadow application. Now don't get me wrong, they actually pick up eyeshadow and apply it really well. They do wonders for eyeshadow pigmentation, but they grab on the skin, they pull and tug, they don't glide, and the way that you hold the brush is really awkward. It's a shame. Here we have the domed round brush. As you can see, the tip is domed. This is another brush that picks up color and applies it with serious intensity, but you'll see that it is absolutely useless for blending and a pain in the ass to work with. I couldn't do it and I'm never going to do it again. I'm going to stick with my fluffy brush. Thank you very much. I'm moving on to concealing, and for this job I am using the extra small oval brush. Before I talk about the concealer brush, I just want to address the fact that my eyes are essentially done in this shot. Now, I did blend out my crease with a traditional blending brush because I think the round brushes are bad for the job. I also did my wing liner with an angled brush because I don't think the linear brushes are good for the job. I've tried it in the past. It's really difficult to get like a precise, sharp wing, and also the size and the angle that you hold the brush is just, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural. I'm sure if you practice, you could definitely get it done with one of the linear brushes. It's just not something that I'm willing to devote the time to. So this little concealer brush is, again, very densely packed. The bristles are really soft. It does grab to the skin, but it applies product fairly well. I find applying with a sweeping motion and then patting to blend the concealer in gives quite nice results. The shape of this brush is really great for getting around the nostrils, under the eyes, and in that little C curve between your nose and the inner corner of your eye. It kind of fits everywhere in those little sections of your face really well. I've been using this quite a bit. I really do enjoy it. It's a nice little brush, and honestly, if I was ever going to buy one of these that was really expensive, like a high quality brand, this is one of the sizes that I would go for. So you might be able to see with this shot that I am getting brush strokes in the concealer when I'm applying it, and I do finish by tapping it out with my finger at the end just for a natural finish. But what I really love about this brush is the size and the shape of it. It's so perfect for those little areas of the face. And although I make a stink face when I'm seeing those brush strokes, the finished results are really nice once I tap it out. Next up, I'm using the extra large oval brush. This brush picks up so much product and it's scary when you look at it, but it applies product really well. I find the best way to use it is a patting motion, not a sweeping motion, because it still grabs onto the skin and it's frustrating because it will move your makeup as well. So while I applied this all over my face, I simply used a patting motion. Next up, I'm using the small linear brush. So here I am with the small linear brush, and pretty much the only thing I think that these are good for me personally is under eye eyeshadow application or maybe brow application, and I will get into that a little bit later. These are really good, especially this small one. It's great for under the eye because you get a really nice precise line, but then you can sort of soften it with the same brush. So I'm going back to the round domed brush, and this is one spot where the brush works well with eyeshadow. If you just use it to apply like an inner corner highlight, it's quite nice. You will probably end up with quite an intense highlight in there, so if that's not your thing, be careful to like tap off excess product, or use a very, very light hand. But I quite like it for this job. It gets in there nicely. It fits in that area really well. Next up, I'm using the medium oval brush. This one has some quality control issues with the bristles. You might be able to see that bump in the bristles where it's not been cut properly. It doesn't really affect the application though. So I use this brush for contouring and bronzing. Since my base is set with a powder and I'm using this brush to apply another powder over the top of that, I find I don't get as much grabbing. The places where I use the brush on the full flat surface is on my forehead and my jawline. These areas are quite tight anyway, so the skin doesn't get yanked around as much. When I'm contouring with it, I use the edge of the brush, so there's not as much surface area for it to like grab and pull the skin. On the neck, I don't know, it pulls. It pulls on the neck. There's not much you can do about it. Overall, I actually don't mind this brush too much for bronzing and contouring. I do find that it takes more work than a typical brush that I would use, but it does the job. You can also get a really nice sharp contour with this brush because it does have that edge that you can use. One of the problems that I ran into while using this brush for contouring was excess product. The brush, like I said, these brushes pick up a lot of product, and because they don't absorb any product, it all goes on your face. So I was using Benefit Hoola here, which can be a little bit intense, and since I'm not particularly tanned at the moment, I do have to be careful of how much I use. The next brush I'm using is the small oval brush. So I'm using this brush to apply my blush. Now, I was super cautious with this because I know these brushes pick up a lot of product and they apply a lot of product. I was really careful about the amount of blush I used. You guys probably know I don't use a lot of blush anyway, and I was kind of scared that I was going to have to rock clown face for the rest of the day, but I was quite happy with how this went on. I did use extremely small amount of product, and I just used sweeping motions to apply it. The next brush I'm using is the medium linear brush. So here I am applying a brow product with the medium linear brush. I just kind of brushed the brush against my brow pencil and then applied product. It's okay. I haven't touched these linear brushes since filming this, but it'll do the job. These linear brushes are quite easy to handle when you're using them on the brows. The shape just seems to fit quite well. They're comfortable to hold, and I do feel like these give a nice sort of natural finish, almost like little hair strokes because they leave brush strokes on the face. So if you're into natural brows and you might like to try one of these out. I've gone back to the small linear brush to apply some brow gel. It does the job. I don't particularly like it for the job for any particular reason. It's just not my preferred type of brush, but it will get the job done. You might notice in this demo I haven't used the large linear brush, and that's because I don't like it. Now, it's not for any particular reason, like there's nothing wrong with the brush. It's just kind of too big for my face, I suppose. It doesn't fit well anywhere. It doesn't feel right when I use it in my brows. It doesn't feel right when I use it around my eyes. It could be good for applying like cream contour to the nose. I haven't tried it myself. I don't contour my nose. But it's not a brush that I really reach for or care to use. I've gone back to the small oval brush and I am applying a highlight. Again, these pick up a lot of product and it all ends up on your face. So sweeping motions, pat it out a little bit, try to distribute it carefully. But like I said before, the powder products, when you're applying powder over powder with these brushes, they work quite nicely. And finally, we are back to the flat round brush and I'm applying a lipstick. I'm kicking myself for applying this stupid fucking nudie pink lipstick because it doesn't do the brush justice. These little round flat brushes are brilliant for applying lipstick. I find a dark lipstick applied with one of these brushes, I don't know what it is, but it just hugs the curves of your lips and it applies so nicely. It applies really opaque, beautiful, like even coverage. It's just perfect. And of course I used a potato of a Napoleon Purtis lipstick for this job. I'm sorry guys. So my overall opinion of these brushes is, if you are curious about this type of brush, I would recommend buying them on eBay first, seeing if you like the way that they handle, basically. I would expect that Artis brushes would be of better quality. You wouldn't see like the imperfections in the brushes, you might not get the brush strokes on your face. Yeah, for me personally, I think the only brushes that I really like is the one for foundation, and it's not, I mean, I'm not really into this one particularly because it does leave brush strokes on my face, but I don't particularly like the way it handles so much that I would go and spend the money on a real one, if you know what I'm saying. I have other brushes that work better, or they work in a way that I'm really happy with them, and I just don't feel like it's something that I would spend the money on. All the other brushes I'm just not really that into. Like, it's kind of take it or leave it situation. Like the linear brushes I just don't really touch. The round brushes, I do like them for dark lip colors, but for the most part, since I got these, I've barely used them. And let's just put it this way. I'm so glad that I spent less than $30 on this set than going and buying a $500 and something set and not using them. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this review and demo video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. There will be a link to the eBay seller that I purchased these brushes off in the description box, so you can check that out if you want. I might do a blog post, I might not. I'm not committing to it. If I do, that'll also be in the blog post, but to be honest, I probably won't. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye!